Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin. El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt.
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans? And welcome back to another Pittsburgh Steelers postgame show. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Bryan Davis and Dave Schofield. Yes, it's the preseason. We don't care. We're doing a postgame show. It's Steelers win. Bryan, what's up?
Hey, so glad to be here. I'm in a much better mood than I was on Thursday. For some reason, I don't know why, but now I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad we're talking about an actual Pittsburgh Steelers game, and I got to see them hit. I got to see them score touchdowns, something we haven't seen them do in a long time. I'm feeling groovy.
Dave Schofield, what's up?
Hey, I'm ready to throw out all these crazy numbers to go along with this. We'll have that article tomorrow, but I might have to give up a few of them right now. And that is the Steelers are just a few days shy of 8 months since we have done this show. So this is fantastic. And the other thing is the Steelers putting up 31 points. That's only 1 point shy of what they did in all three preseason games combined last year.
Wow.
I'm not going to lie. We'll do our knee-jerk reactions here. When I was watching the game, and I know who's not playing and everything, when Darnell Washington caught that touchdown, I actually screamed, yes, and yelled touchdowns. My kids are like, well, this game doesn't count, right? I said, it's been a while, okay? I was getting into this game. I actually enjoyed it, even into the second half. We'll break it down, but let's go to you, Bryan. What was your knee-jerk reaction after the win?
Well, it does count, and the reason it counts is because it counts to see what the Steelers offense might be looking like, what the defense might be looking like. And if we got a preview of the offense, then my knee-jerk reaction is I'm elated because it just seemed like there were crisp passes over the middle, but the schemes looked nice, and they did feature a running back that it seemed like was getting so it looks like he could start tomorrow. And that's a guy that's not even expected to start. I just liked what I saw today, especially when, I'm not going to lie to you, I thought this was a throwaway game without playing anybody, with the exception of 4 guys on the offensive line that starts. But when I watched what was happening on the field, it just seems like there's a scheme change. There's just a whole different mindset with this offense, and it seems rejuvenated.
That's a good way of putting it. Dave, what about you? Knee-jerk reaction, what is it?
That it was a fun preseason game. Like Bryan said, we didn't get those last year. It was nice to watch. There was things you were kind of looking for, and it was just I just caught up in enjoying the game. That's more than anything. So thank you, Steelers, for putting on something as a preseason game that was enjoyable. And I was really concerned about the weather. I knew that there was some severe storm possibilities. Luckily, it looks like they got them out of their system early in Jacksonville. So it just things went off. Didn't have to worry about bad weather. I completely missed taking the under on this game because the Steelers almost hit the under over themselves. But it was, which made it, I didn't expect that from the Steelers for the preseason, but it was really good to see. Plenty of things we can break down that was not good to see, but knee-jerk reaction is overall satisfied.
Yeah, and so we're going to do this just the way we do all of our regular post-game shows, and we're going to break it down by the numbers. We're going to start on the offensive side of the football, and the Steelers did put up 31 points, and that is noteworthy, and we haven't seen them do that in a very long time. Let's start with the quarterback play, which I thought was actually really good. Yes, there were 3 quarterbacks that played, but only 2 that actually had attempts, and that would be none other than Mason Rudolph, who finished 9 of 10, 84 yards, 8.4-yard average, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked once, was not on the offensive line, mind you, for a rating of 135.0. Skylar Thompson took over. He went 20 of 28, 233 yards, 8.3 average, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 1 time for a 132.0 rating. If you combine everything for the game, the Steelers went 29 of 38, 301 yards, and 8.3 average, 4 touchdowns, no picks, sacked twice for a 135.5 rating. That's a lot. So, gentlemen, let's start with you. Bryan, what do you think about the quarterback play?
I thought the quarterback play was very good. I liked the scheming, like I mentioned earlier. I will say this, that if I'm a Jacksonville Jaguars fan right now, I'm not happy whatsoever in the performance of their team because the Steelers did not have the Steelers had their B team out there basically. And they had their first team defense out there, and that was a number 32 ranked defense against the run last year. They just didn't look good, but the quarterback play, they are throwing some very good balls, and it just seems like if Sky Thompson can do it, and Mason Rudolph just looked amazing. He looked like a starter. So what's going to happen when Aaron Rodgers goes out there? It almost makes me feel like that the scheme is finally in the second year what they want it to be.
All right, Dave.
Yeah, quarterback play. You can't complain about anything there. That was really something. But man, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but it's really nice when the quarterback has time to throw. Like that you said about the sack that Mason Rudolph took. I mean, that was what, 5, 6, maybe 7 seconds he held onto the ball, and he could have maybe tried to dump it off. Might have been better. I don't know if they'd even cut that off or not. I'd have to go back and look at it. But that was the what you would call the coverage sack, if anything else. So the pass protection held up for the quarterbacks who really did a nice job. Remember, they are going against more of a vanilla defense, but you still got to go out and make throws and make plays, and that's what they did.
It was where they made the throws, Dave. It was, a vanilla defense. It was over the middle. I mean, we saw big chunk plays over the middle. Mason Rudolph, obviously, also you had, Skylar Thompson. Really some nice throws over the middle of the football field. And that's just so, I don't know, we're not used to seeing it. That goes all the way back to the Matt Canada era. Even last year, he had 2 quarterbacks who just did not want to throw the ball there. It was great. It was fun to watch. They definitely delivered some really good throws, some really good passes, some good catches as well. I know that Skylar Thompson's last touchdown, which was to Keyshawn Williams, I believe, there he kind of had to go up over top of the guy. So he definitely helped out his quarterback there. Dave, do we have a super chat that you want to read?
Yeah, we got a couple. Like I said, we can't bring them up on the screen. Something interesting here, that for some reason, both on YouTube and on our side, it's not people's names. It's their actual screen names. They're at whatever for YouTube right now, which I don't know when that changed, but here we go. This is at Andrew Wilbar Fantasy Football 6619. Giving some money back, $2 in the tip jar, said Lou and Mason, biggest winners, aka nickels and dimes.
Oh gosh.
And then we have $1.99 from Brandon Diaz. He said, great game, 70-yard field goal with question marks and exclamation marks. I'm sure we'll talk about that eventually. And then we have from Danny JR864, $1.99, said Juan Thornhill in midseason form, huge hit on BTR7.
Yeah.
Which, whoever that. Oh, that's
Brian Thomas Jr.
Brian Thomas Jr., yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which I loved it. For anyone that had to watch that play, we'll talk about the defense here in a little bit. But I mean, for anyone to watch that play, I had to watch the Jacksonville feed. Yeah. Bucky Brooks is doing the color, and as he throws, Trevor Lawrence throws that pass. Bucky Brooks, it's not even it's in the air. He goes, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
Oh no.
And they incorrectly identified it as Sebastian Castro.
Yeah.
But that's one of the few mistakes that they made on the Steelers side. Usually, you get it. Bryan and I were actually talking before Jeff was ready to go tonight. We felt that this, you had to, if you were listening to it on or watching on NFL Plus, which most people probably had to, unless you're in the Pittsburgh area or in Jacksonville area, you would have got them anyway. They were some of the better away announcers that we've had in the preseason for a while. They did not do a bad job actually identifying Steelers that were in on plays. So many times you get local ones that they don't even mention the other team at all. Like unless they score a touchdown. Like they would talk about defenders making a tackle and things like that. So it wasn't as bad as it has been in the past.
I agree with that. All right, so let's continue and let's talk a little bit about the running game. I thought the running game was a big disappointment. Then again, when you have, I don't know, Dave or Brian, if you know, how long did the offensive line, the four that played, how long did they stay in the game? I didn't see when they exited. Did you guys catch
series.
That? Oh, that was it, just 2 series.
That's what I saw. I'm pretty sure by the third one.
When Mason left, they left.
Pretty sure.
All right. So
I agree with that.
Okay. Let's talk about the Steelers' running game. Lou Nichols led the way with 6 carries, 31 yards, a 5.2 average, and a long of 14. Caleb Johnson, an up-and-down game, 8 carries, 20 yards, 2.5 average. Trey Sermon, 3 for 7. They total, as a team, 25 carries for 66 yards, a 2.6-yard average, and that long of 14 stands. I was not impressed with the Steelers' push up front. It was one of the few things I did not really... I watched. I was hoping for something better. Didn't get it. Brian, what was your take on the running game of the Steelers?
Well, I alluded to it already. I feel like Caleb Johnson already looks like the guy. And when I was noticing him more, it wasn't the first 2 series. So I felt like he was playing behind a B team offensive line, and he was making some decent moves. I also liked the catch in the right flat that they threw to him as well in the screen game. I kind of felt like that tonight was more about the passing and establishing the middle of the field more than it was the running game. It shouldn't be that way. I just kind of feel like that I'm not sounding an alarm yet, because I thought Caleb Johnson actually looked pretty good.
Okay. Dave, thoughts on the running game?
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Johnson looked good for non-first round running back rookie playing his first game. I didn't think he looked to a point where it's like, oh, this needs to be his job in week 1 or whatever like that. It was well enough. Honestly, to me, the biggest thing when it came to Caleb Johnson was on the Steelers' first drive, and it was 3rd and 4, and they ran and got the first down. That was probably the highlight of the running game up until you had Lou Nichols at the end of the game, who had some nice runs. Yeah. Other than that, the running game, I'd give it like a D-. It was not good. I don't know that they were, and it's not just on the running backs either, but I was really surprised that the Steelers could run the ball in the fourth quarter when they needed to, and they did all right, and they got the ball down there. Now, the last time, Logan Woodside comes out for one series, and yeah, he had 1 carry for -2 yards, so that didn't help the rushing totals. But yeah, nobody outside of Lou Nichols. Sorry, his name escaped me for a moment. He was the only one who averaged more than 2.5 yards a carry of the running backs, because Skylar Thompson technically had 3. He had 1 carry for 3 yards. But of the running backs, no one else was over 2.5 yards, and he was at 5.2. Now, you're also talking about the end of the depth chart guys that were out there for Jacksonville as well. So it's not like to get all excited about him. I'm more disappointed with the run game early on, particularly in the first half when it was more of the Steelers' 2s and 3s versus Jacksonville's 1s and 2s, because in the first half they only had 23 yards rushing on 8 attempts.
Yeah, I mean, and there were times where Caleb Johnson, there was nowhere to go. You could see, like, he gets the football, he's trying to bounce it outside. Like, this isn't Iowa. You're not going to be able to do that in the National Football League. The defensive backs are going to track you down and tackle you. He'll learn. They'll hopefully get better. We'll see what it looks like in week 2. We don't want to belabor the point too much, but let's go to the pass catchers now. The Steelers receiving corps. Boy, this list of people that caught passes. How many is it?
16, Jeff. 16.
Goodness gracious. 16 players caught passes during this preseason game. Keshawn Williams led the way, 2 catches, 55 yards, an average of 27.5. He had a touchdown. Scotty Miller, 4 catches, 47 yards. Brock Taylor, 2 catches, 38. Max Hurlman, 2 for 29. Trey Sermon, 4 for 28. Roman Wilson, good to see him playing, 2 for 24. We already mentioned Mount Washington, 1 for 19 for a touchdown. The touchdown catches were obviously Keshawn Williams, Max Hurlman, Trey Sermon on the screen, and Darnell Washington over the middle in the first quarter. So, guys, what do you think about the pass catchers? Bryan, we'll start with you.
Well, let's start out with the big guy, Mount Washington. And I'm going to say, I was really impressed with the way that play, turned out. It was right down the middle. It was in the middle of the end zone. He made the athletic play that we've been waiting for him to make as far as a touchdown catch, because he used his size. And was it a perfectly thrown ball? No, but when it's being thrown to a guy as big as Washington, it's a perfectly thrown ball. And so it was a good hookup. I really liked what I saw there. I think the two most important guys here, and that's apologies to guys like Hurlman and Keyshawn, but the two guys I really want to talk about, I thought early on against the ones of Jacksonville, I thought Roman Wilson looked superb. Mm-hmm. I thought Scotty Miller looked very good too, which Scotty Miller looks like he could be a 4 or a 5 on this team. Maybe he only needs to be a 5, but Scotty Miller really showed that he could do it as well. So I kind of I liked that, but I love the fact, and you said it, Jeff. I think Dave, you said it too. Going over the middle just makes a world of difference. And wait until a guy like Calvin Austin catches the ball over the middle, because we saw what he did in week 3 against the Los Angeles Chargers last year when he just split the defense, the secondary, and just jetted. I expect more of that if this is what the offense is going to look like.
All right, Dave, pass catchers, what do you think?
Well, I would say even overall offensive passing scheme is a little thing I want to mention here now that we're to the pass catchers. Throwing the ball over the middle a lot, going up the seam. I love those seam routes. Play action pass. My goodness, how many play action passes to start the game do they run? So it's like, you know what? The running game wasn't like tearing it up, but they thought the Steelers were going to run it. They just kept play action pass, throwing the ball. I mean, it was with the pass catchers. I can't think of any ball that wasn't caught that should have been, off the top of my head.
I can't either.
So in all, it seemed, I don't know how well they ran their routes and what they were supposed to, because I'm not privy to that information. But from everything I saw, there wasn't much more you could have asked from the Steelers pass catchers.
No. I mean, 16 guys caught passes. And if I'm reading these numbers correctly, no one was targeted that didn't have a catch. That doesn't mean they caught every pass thrown their way, but there was no one with a reception of 0. Even Robert Woods, 1 catch, 4 yards. Ben Skoranek, 1 catch, 3 yards. So you can't complain much about the passing game. And Bryan, I want to give you an opportunity if you wanted to add anything about the offensive coaching. Since Dave brought it up, we can talk about that now if you want to say anything.
I have a little bit, because I've talked about the scheme a few times in this game, and I just thought that Arthur Smith feels like he has his players, like he is able to go ahead and institute his scheme. I feel like it's just a match made in heaven. I will also say this. I don't know if last year that Arthur Smith felt that he had the right quarterbacks for what he needed to do. And I feel like this time around, he feels like he has carte blanche to go ahead, and he has the guys that will be able to go ahead and anchor his offense. So I feel really good about the coaching as well. And if the all these receivers are finding ways to get open, they're doing it. So I hope I get his name right. I always mix them up, but it's Zach Azzani, isn't it?
He's the
wide receivers coach.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I obviously he's working well with these guys, and it shows me one thing, and I'm sorry I have to bring this up, but it shows me that he's more refreshed being free of George Pickens, because he had to deal with a lot of aggravation with George mouthing off to him, this and that. I feel like it's his team, his wide receiver unit now too, and his wide receiver room. And you have a lot of guys with those wide receivers that are right now, they have the will and they're hungry and they're scratching and clawing. And this seems like a very unified offense right now. And I like what I'm hearing. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I do want to bring this up, and I'll put it on the screen here. Brian Brown says Caleb Johnson had one bounce off his shoulder pads. Yes, there was a screen.
Yeah.
That was
yes. That one should have been caught. That was that was on a 2nd and 20, and he probably gets at least 10 yards on that, which would have set him up for 3rd and possible rather than 3rd and 20.
Yeah. So
I thought of that after I said it too. So
I was right after the sack, and that's the only one I can think of.
Yep.
I will say this: it's a lot of times coaches will say, "Well, we don't game plan for the preseason or anything like that." And there's a good chance that they don't in terms of preseason planning, meaning for the opponent. You could tell the Steelers absolutely scripted some of their first opening series of plays, and they were great. It was the play action passes that Dave brought up. It was using the middle of the field. It was getting Mason Rudolph to just really get some comfortable looks in what he was comfortable with. You want to get some momentum going. You want some swagger. And I'm not saying that this team is legit and Mason is the next guy. No, this was what it was. It was a week 1 preseason game. The Steelers put up 31 points, and that should be acknowledged. Last thing before we take a break and stop talking about the offensive line. So the offensive line didn't give up. They gave up 2 sacks in total. If I look at the Jaguars' defensive stats, the quarterback hits, they had 5. So, Brian, what did you think about the offensive line?
As far as pass pro, I thought they were pretty darn good. I was pretty much impressed with them, and I'm usually more impressed with them in the running game. But I feel pass protection was very nice today. I do agree with you guys that there's a lot to do as far as the running game goes. And Dave said, it's not just Caleb Johnson's fault. It's not just the running back's fault. I would probably, if you have to, we're not grading, but if you look at it, I would say, probably a C+ overall. But what's bringing that average up way is I thought the pass pro was great.
Okay. Dave, what about the offensive line? I'm curious what you thought.
Yeah, well, first of all, quarterback hits, none of them were in the first quarter, which is when they were going up against the best the Jaguars had to offer. So that's encouraging. Pass pro, really liked it. Run blocking by any of the units, not as much. I felt that the last unit that was out there was getting more push than the opening unit was, but that's matchup based further down the line. I also know this. I know some people. This even came up in the open thread at SteelCurveNetwork.com, which this was our first game with the new look of the website.
How did it go?
I thought it was great. Some people were saying they didn't like it because when they refreshed the page, it didn't remember what order they wanted their comments in. I never had to refresh the page because if you wait, the comments just come up. It was way better than I've ever experienced. It was really great there. But to go back to the offensive line, the people were bringing up, and I've even seen some people in the live chat about Broderick Jones. I think people that were looking at things that weren't going well for Broderick Jones were looking for things to not go well with Broderick Jones. Like someone brought up, on that touchdown pass, he kind of got walked back when he didn't have Washington next to him. Do you realize that he was going up against one of the best edge rushers? I'd say one of the best. He's probably top 10. What's his? He added another name.
Josh Hines
it's
Allen.
not just Josh Allen anymore, right? He added
Hines Allen.
Hines Allen. Okay, I couldn't remember what the name was.
Dave, he's a guy who had 17 and a half sacks last year.
Yeah,
and when the season starts, he's 2.5 sacks away from being the all-time leading sacker in Jacksonville Jaguars history. Now they only have a 31-year history, but he's only been around 8 years.
So that was a good matchup, one of those matchups you wanted to see early on in the game, and that's the thing. I'm going to be interesting. I want to go back, of course. and preseason more than anything, I like to go back to rewatch the game just to look at the offensive line, and I want to see the kind of stuff they're doing. So I did not think that I saw anything glaring with Broderick Jones. I mean, they're like, oh, he got walked back. I'm like, Mason Rudolph still had plenty of time to throw that ball to Darnell Washington.
Yeah. So
they did their job. And I know that there was a hands to the face with Fautanu. You know what? Whoop-de-doo. I'm not super worried about that. That could just be a hand slippage or a missed punch when he did a defensive move. You don't want to see it all the time, but no, that not the end of the world. So the fact that nobody really stood out. I know that the one time there was was it that Rudolph was sacked or whatever? I can't remember. The one of them, it was a Spencer Anderson one. That one stood out for me.
Yeah.
But overall, for the line, like I said, I reserve the right to rewatch this game and really break it down and focus on these guys. First impression was pass blocking good, run block. Let's get a little bit more push.
Brian, what do you want to say?
Jeff, I'm not going to try to tell you how to do your job, but I'd like to make a request and put my vote in when you're doing winners and losers. You might have already thought about this, but I think Broderick Jones was a winner tonight.
I thought about it, and it was difficult because I have not, like Dave said, rewatched the game, and nothing really stood out. So, but I agree with you. I think the offensive line, the first group that was in there, didn't do anything crazy. I do want to say this, and I want to give kudos. We love to just bury coaches whenever things don't go the way we feel they should. Great job with the first preseason game and not a ton of crap penalties. Like you didn't have the false starts. You didn't have the illegal motions and all that stuff. And that's the offensive line. That's a whole offensive unit. So kudos to the Steelers for keeping it clean. I know Mike Tomlin spoke about that in his 30-second press conference. After the game.
30 seconds.
So,
yeah.
We will typically
That's generous.
We will typically have a post-game Mike Tomlin recap. And
I was ready. I had the studio set up. I was ready to hit record.
Yeah.
And it would have been a 2-minute podcast because
that might have been long. That might have been like 3 times longer than the actual press conference.
Yes, it would have been longer than the actual press conference.
The first ad that you heard would have been longer than Mike Tomlin's speech.
Yes.
So, all right. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. When we come back after the break, if we have any new super chats, we'll read them. We'll also talk about the defense, and then we'll get out of here. Stay tuned. If you're watching live, we're not going anywhere. We'll be right back after this break. All right, Steeler fans, we are back. We already talked about the offense in case you're joining us live late, so go back and watch it. Dave, do we have any new super chats or anything?
No, we do not. I know it's
Nice.
not as fun when we can't put them up on the screen, but
okay.
we're still trying to work through that with the streaming service provider.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Well,
Yeah.
they have to figure it out, not me.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the defense. As the offense as you scored 31 points, the defense gave up 25. But can we just take a minute and can we just say that I cannot believe that I witnessed a 70-yard field goal?
Yes.
That was insane.
I loved it.
Oh, so
Would have
did I.
hated it if it was the
Yeah,
regular
yeah.
season.
But-
I love that it was in the preseason, so the record doesn't count. But my goodness,
mean,
you could just enjoy it for what it was.
This wasn't at elevation. Like, this isn't in
No.
Denver. Like, yes, I know that, that down in Florida with the humidity, sometimes the ball can travel further. It's the same in golf, but still, it's like a 70-yard field goal. I had already typed up that the score and a half was the 22 or whatever point total was. Like, they're going for a field goal. I'm like, this is funny, a 70-yarder. It was good for 72.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Jeff, I'm so glad they did what they did so we could witness that. But you really want to know the truth? What you typed in the first time was the right halftime score. The clock ran out way before they called a timeout. But it's a preseason game, so they did it. And I don't care. And if it wouldn't have been, they probably would have gone back to look at it. But it was a preseason game, so who cares? That's why you're not, was there any coaches challenge? Was there any booth challenges tonight? Not a single one. Why? Because it's the preseason. Why you want to slow this stuff down? Yeah. So, but I'm glad they did it. I'm so glad it didn't come down that affected the outcome of the game, simply because you could just appreciate it for the great thing that it was, regardless of what color his uniform was, and that it wasn't, especially with it not being another kicker from the AFC North, it made it even better.
Yes. Brian, any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, now he posted Cam Little is the kicker, and he posted a couple weeks ago him hitting a 72-yarder in practice, but that's practice. You have nobody coming at you. He did this in a real game scenario. It's a shame that it doesn't erase that 66-yarder, which was a joke in 2021 or 2022, where that certain AFC North AFC North kicker that we don't talk about. I'm sure I haven't seen the super chat, but I'm sure.
Sorry, I can't. Jeff, you know who it's from?
Oh, did you send it?
No, I did not, because this is Dave Friendly. It says it right
Dave
there.
Friendly. Okay.
Steeler fan 69, $5 into the tip jar. Said Dave Friendly is how it started. It says, I bought my wife a pug dog as a present. Despite the squashed nose, bulging eyes, and rolls of fat, the dog seems to like her. That wasn't the only super chat, though, so we have another one. Okay. This is from retired Navy Will, $5 at the tip jar. Thank you very much. Says, thanks, Jeff, for the X Live play-by-play, even, though you were 5 to 10 seconds behind what I was watching. I was at least, if I turned on the media guide for the Steelers, I was at least 3 plays behind. Just because. And the thing is, I turned on NFL Plus on a different TV, the one that's actually right here right now, so I can be at the desk ready to go for this huge Tomlin post-game press conference that wasn't. It was 30 seconds ahead of my other TV. So it really depends on everything with NFL Plus. It's kind of
Yeah, I didn't care. I was excited to tweet about the Steelers.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm going to be live tweeting a preseason game. If you don't like it, you can just turn it off. But I know there was a lot of people out there that didn't get the game and they wanted to be curious how things were going. And I didn't know at the end. I checked the Twitter account of the Steelers. It's like final. And they still hadn't even run the last play. The guy gets tackled in bounds. It's like, I guess he doesn't score a touchdown.
Honestly, here's the question with that. I know it's the preseason, but you do have to question. All right. So I understand you didn't have time to throw it into the end zone twice and you're down by a touchdown. So why are you trying to take one play to get 3 yards closer before you do it? Did it really matter? Because guess what? He gets tackled in bounds. Great play out there. Yeah. The tackle him in bounds. That's what you're supposed to do in 2-minute defense. Tackle him in bounds no matter what. And then the clock runs out. So.
Well, let's talk about the defense, since that's what we were just referring to in the final push. So let's talk about the pass defense first. Trevor Lawrence did play in this game. Let's keep that in the back of our brains here. He finished 6 of 7 for 43 yards. A 6.1 average, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no sacks, a 92.3 rating. Then came Nick Mullins, who played the majority of the game. He had 11 of 18 for 89 yards, 4.9 average, 1 touchdown. Seth Hennigan came in, 11 of 14, 78 yards, 5.6 average. And then John Wolford, 3 for 5, 63 yards. So as a total team, the Jacksonville passing attack was 31 of 44 for 273, a 6.2 average, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. This is going to be a big one for me. 0 sacks. The Steelers did not get a sack at all. It looked like maybe at the end, I think it was Wolford was in, or maybe it was Hennigan. No, it was Hennigan. Where it looked like he was getting sacked and he was able to shovel it forward to a running back, but still.
Threw it behind his head, didn't he?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. So what did you guys think about the pass defense? Bryan, we'll start with you.
Well, Hennigan, you, just like Seinfeld, you couldn't smell it on your breath. If you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. That's the vodka that Kramer drank early on. And so I thought it was funny. All right, so let's move on. Yeah, this is hard for me because we saw apples versus oranges right away. And they were that passing attack was decent, but 31 for 44 overall. That's a lot different if you have JPJ in there instead of DPJ in there. Really do. You didn't get any sacks. That's not the greatest offensive line in the world their starting offensive line if you have the cams, if you have the defensive backs helping out TJ Watt and all of those guys because they're covering well. You're going to have a whole lot different of a time, and defense. The defense is on there to get reps, and I think I was poo-pooing it a little bit the other day when I was saying that Aaron Rodgers probably Aaron Rodgers said he'd rather play a scrimmage game in camp against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than be in a preseason game. Now I think about it a little bit more, and you guys helped me out with that by saying it, but I think the defense would probably rather play those scrimmage games in practice against another team than out here, because it's just way too. You're not showing anything. You're just out there trying to make tackles and keep it out of the end zone, but you're not playing like it's on Sunday.
All right, Dave, thoughts on the pass defense?
I thought that they did what you basically are trying to do for a preseason game without getting too complicated, to showing what you're going to do, showing how you're going to present one thing and do another. You play the vanilla defense. You play the bend but don't break. I thought the pass defense, secondary wise, of course, who gave up the important plays, who gave up like a long third down conversion early in the game, and who gave up the one touchdown. That was good old Jimmy P, which been having a really good training camp so far. Didn't have the best cornerback tape out there for this game, but we all know if he makes the team, it's going to be because of special teams more than anything. And he's someone that you don't want to have don't want to see out there on the defense anyway, unless there's really problems going on. I like this. The first group that was out there, I like to see how they brought it. I mean, if it wasn't a preseason game, they force a 3-and-out to start the game. If it's not preseason and a first-time head coach is first time ever going, knowing it's preseason, I doubt they go for it on fourth down, in their own territory like that. So the fact they did that, and that was a nice looking play that they did to convert that fourth down. So they ran the jet sweep. So that was something. If you're throwing in the pass rush as part of the pass defense, how did they have any quarterback hits? Did you or are you going to do that separately?
We can do it now because we talked about how they didn't have sacks. The Steelers quarterback hits, what I'm seeing here, 3.
Yeah,
that's it.
Welshoff, Leal, and Jack Sawyer.
Yeah.
So that was. You would have liked to see them get a little bit more pressure, but I mean, my goodness, they didn't even play their top 3 outside linebackers. And outside of that, it's kind of hard to say. Did Derek Harmon play more than one series or two? Him and Benton, they might have just played the one, if not.
I did not notice.
Yeah, because they didn't. They were out there to start, but wasn't very long. But man, I mean, I thought Brandon Eccles was getting into stuff. I thought Juan Thornhill. These are guys, new additions to the team that stood out in a good way on pass defense. So all in all, I was satisfied with it.
I'll just never forget Bucky Brooks when Trevor Lawrence lets go of the ball and he goes, "Oh no!" if you missed it, go back and watch it again. It is worth it. I might go back and just record it so if I can put it on Twitter or something. So all right, the pass defense again. They picked on Jimmy Pierre. They picked on Beanie Bishop a lot. Those were the two guys that were probably targeted more than anyone else on the defensive side, at least when the first or second string players were in there. So what else did you want to say, Dave?
Oh, I was going to say, and they would have had an interception. Now, granted, that was just a really poorly thrown ball that was actually based more from pressure is what created, I think, the poor throw, a poor decision to throw it. And some people were saying that's a roughing the passer every time. His helmet, contact to the quarterback's helmet, it doesn't have to be hard. It's the rule. It wasn't a bad call. It was the right call. It just sucks that that's the call.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the rule. It is what it is.
If I'm McCutcheon, I'm going to go up and say, "Where's Loudermilk?" And then when I see how tall he is, I'm going to just cower away. So but I'd be upset. He really he lost a stat there, and that's a shame. But I hope the coaches remember that when they're going through it and remember that tape, because, like Dave said, that was a good play on the Steelers defense. It was just unfortunate that helmets touched in that situation. It was so inadvertent, it wasn't funny.
So some people are saying that Hartman was out there almost the whole game.
Really?
If so, like there are some times where it's just really difficult with that sideline angle to see which defensive linemen are in there. And
I was noticing some YA black, mainly because I noticed the number 78, and he's a big dude.
He's a giant, yeah.
I know. I don't think Benton was out there very long. So
probably not. So all right, let's look at the run defense next. Is the next part of the defense. The Jaguars as a total rushed 17 times for 66 yards, 3.9 yard average, 1 touchdown, and an 8-yard long. Bishal Tutin, it had 6 carries for 24 yards. He had the touchdown where he was basically pushed in for 5 yards. Tank Bigsby, 6 for 24 as well. De'Ami Brown, 1 for 7. Travis Etienne, 2 for 6. Even Trevor Lawrence got in with 1 for 3. What did you guys think about the run defense in this game? Brian, we'll start with you.
I'm actually surprised that they ran 3.9, because I felt like it was non-existent for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I really didn't feel like they were running the ball that well. But I guess 3.9 is 3.9. That's almost 4 yards per carry. I mean, they put together better stats than what the Steelers did, but that just didn't seem to be the narrative for me. I thought it was more passing. So I can say that I was not disappointed with the running game as far as defense goes. But we're also looking at the fact that they had their guys out there. The Steelers did not have their guys out there, except for Harmon, who's a rookie, and Benton for a little bit. But I thought they held their own.
Okay. Dave, run defense, what was your take?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. And I mean, you didn't need it a ton in the second half because Jacksonville was having to throw the ball, trying to come back from behind. I understand. Was disappointing to see that touchdown pushed into the end zone in the fourth quarter, but like I said, that was probably guys pushing and guys trying to stop the push that very well might not be on either roster in a month. So I don't want to get too disappointed in that, but I mean, my goodness, I mean, they did not have that was the longest run of the game, was that 8-yard touchdown where he was pushed. That was it. So
I just want to give a shout out to a couple players. First and foremost, Cole Holcomb. Good to see him back on the football field. Number 55, for those that didn't know, I thought he moved really well. I thought that for the plays that he was out there for, he made a couple plays in pass coverage. It was good to see him back out there after such a devastating knee injury in 2023. Also, Peyton Wilson suplexed a guy. Hey, there you go. That's a way to make a name for yourself. And started jawing a little bit. I like to see a little fire from the young player, second-year guy at NC State. So I'm sure we'll see more about some of these players as we break down more film. But ultimately, any other thoughts on the defense, Brian?
Yeah, I want to throw in, if we're going to throw in shout-outs, I thought Brandon Nichols was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Dave, anyone else that you want to shout out?
No, I felt that the defense as a whole, like I said, bend and don't break. They gave up 2 touchdowns. The 2 touchdowns were when they went for it on 4th down on the first drive of the second half, didn't get it. So Jacksonville took over in their own territory, had the interception, but then you had the roughing the passer penalty that did the 15. And I know some people are saying it's ticky-tack. Yeah, I get it. I'm sure that helmets bump worse than that don't get called. But once you saw what the fact they called it, you can't say that they shouldn't have. But that set up that touchdown. And then the other touchdown was, fourth quarter, they had a 2-score lead that they were just kind of letting them go. I felt that if the goal was, hey, bend but don't break throughout everything, that the defense overall did a pretty good job.
All right. I do want to touch on the special team side of things. The Steelers kept it pretty even with the punting between Cameron Johnson and Corliss Waitman. Place kicking was done by the same kicker. Any notes on the special teams, Brian?
Yeah, I like Ben Sauls. I mean, I don't want Boswell to go anywhere, but Ben Sauls really came in, and if something happens that Boswell says, pay me or I'm going to sit, you have a guy that can kick the ball.
Yeah, that's fair. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, Corliss Waitman hit the 56-yard punt, but you do also have to say that Ben Sauls, who only had one field goal attempt, that was one of our over-unders, one of the few that I got right. He did have to kick a 48-yard extra point.
Yep.
So just keep that in mind, and there was really no doubt about it. There was not a missed kick by either team in this game, and actually the punting by both teams was pretty well. If you want to talk special teams, to me the most disappointing was the Steelers kickoff return. That was the low point of the special teams, I would say. That they gave up a couple returns there that
so their kick coverage.
Yeah, their kickoff. Yeah, their kick coverage return is what I meant.
Okay.
Sorry, not them returning it.
Yeah.
I had that right in my head. I just didn't come out of my mouth correctly.
Got it. Well, I was really paying attention because normally, like you're a kickoff, you just kind of you're waiting until they actually get the ball and start an actual play from scrimmage. But this is different, and with the new kickoff rules, it was interesting to see how it impacted the game. Touchbacks going to the 35. I was also very curious. Okay, who's making the tackles for the Steelers on punt and kickoff coverage units? I saw Carson Bruner more than once.
Yep.
Sebastian Castro got into the mix. And while it might not mean everything right now, that does mean something. Because when you're looking at those fringe players,
I got another one.
who's making some plays? What's up, Dave?
Trey Sermon.
Yes.
They accidentally wrote it down at first as Corey Trice because I don't think they're expecting him to I don't know if he got the tackle or was right there around it. I was surprised to see him out there with special teams doing what he did.
Yeah. I mean, Trey Sermon actually had a really good game. And when you think about him playing special teams, and Mike Tomlin even said in the first 10 seconds of his 15-second press conference that it was good to see some offensive guys tackling people and some defensive players blocking for guys. So Trey Sermon, he might find a spot on this team. You never know.
There was something I forgot to say about the defense.
Sure.
And this goes to those of you that were complaining about the officiating. I'm not going to complain about officiating in the preseason, but what was pretty bad, way worse than the pass interference, not pass interference, the roughing the passer, was the offsides penalty on Braden Fehoko. I assume that was his helmet laying on the field that got ripped off in the middle of the play.
Yeah.
You can't have a guy whose helmet is on the field and you don't give him a chance. And the officials are supposed to stop. Well, if he's not involved in the play, they're supposed to let it play out really how it is. But I mean, technically, they could blow a play dead because a player loses their helmet.
Yeah.
But if a guy's helmet gets ripped off, and then you're not even going to let him pick it up and give him time to run back, it's not that it shouldn't have been a penalty. And some people would have complained because the clock was running. They should have stopped the clock because of his helmet getting ripped off and he wasn't back across the line. I understand letting it go until the stat being imminent, but they should have realized that. You can't rip a player's helmet off and then get a penalty that he can't get back on sides in time when you're trying to run down and spike it.
I agree. And that was a weird sequence of events as well. Like just when you're watching it, the guys' helmets on the ground, you're like, okay, they're going to try and spike the ball. How are they going to handle it? Well, they just called him for offsides.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Max Hurlman, another one.
Oh, yeah.
He had a great
positive
game.
Yeah.
Really unique individual when you look at what he can do. He's not a running back. He's not a tight end. He's kind of like that Kyle Juszczyk type player where maybe could be a little fullback, maybe a little tight end.
I'm looking forward to the PFF breakdown, not their scores, I mean, I'll still look at the scores, but I want to see, snap counts. I want to see where people aligned. I want to look specifically at him and say, okay, I can't remember because I'm trying to look at too many things at one time. And I don't know about you all. I didn't even try it. I remember the past. I can't pause and rewind NFL Plus. So I'm like, I can't take it all in at one time, but I want to see where all they had him lined up.
Yeah.
Because he was lined up an awful lot, tight end slot. I don't know, was he in line? Was he in the slot? Things like that. And was he in the backfield? I thought did he have a carry? I can't remember.
I don't know. He did line up in the backfield. I just don't know if he had a carry or not.
I'm going back to look. I do not see that he had a carry. But you're right. That's a pretty interesting and diverse player to me, I think tonight, I don't know if they can find a spot for him on the 53. That dude at least earned himself a spot on the practice squad if he doesn't get picked up somewhere else.
I mean, I had some people on Twitter during the game saying, where does Connor Hayward show value? And I said, well, he had led the team in special team snaps last year. When Dave and I talked about that on our
he
podcast,
was tied with Killebrew. Yep.
I said, so if someone's going to unseat Connor Hayward in terms of a roster spot, they're going to have to be better at special teams. And so if Max Hurlman is going to provide more on offense and and also handle all the special teams roles that Connor Hayward does, then maybe, because really as a tight end with Jonnu Smith now in the mix, you really don't need Connor Hayward on offense anymore.
But I'll be honest with you, they carried and dressed 5 tight ends to start the season last year. That was last year, right? Like they had 5 on the roster and they all got helmets. If not, it was the year before, because I know Rodney Williams is one of them, because he gave stuff in special teams as well. So maybe they find a spot that way, but I thought that was interesting how he was utilized.
For sure. All right, let's do some final thoughts here before we call it a show. Bryan, I'll let you go first.
All right, well, gentlemen, it was so great to see the Pittsburgh Steelers in action tonight. Really just, it was like having a family member come back home, and in more ways than one. It's, you got a chance to see, even though it's not real football, it's still real football, and you got a chance to see a team that looks like that they're getting it figured out in practice, in meeting rooms, and it feels really good. And it's all about family, and it's all about having our Steel Curtain Network family back together. And I want to go ahead and I got to do it just for you guys because I love you. I got to break down the fourth wall a second. and the fourth wall that I'm going to break down is just in our personal lives. We're on this show and we joke around at each other's expense sometimes, but we have a good time. We've been doing it a long time. But when we need something in our personal lives, that we're there for each other. I had a situation today where my mother-in-law passed away about 6 weeks ago. We finally were able to have the memorial service, and lo and behold, Dave Schofield, Jeff Hartman, Jeff's wife, they were there to support me, and that meant a lot to my wife. That meant a lot to me, and that's what family is about. You can't choose your regular family, but you can choose your friends, and then every once in a while, those friends become family. And I'm blessed to be here every week with you guys. From the bottom of my heart, I love you, I thank you, and I love everybody out there. So thank you so much. We got our Steelers back.
Yeah. Before I throw it to Dave, I got to be honest. So Bryan spoke at the funeral service, and before he gets up walking up, I look at Dave and goes, "Oh, Bryan's going to talk." I said, "What are the odds that he's going to say one of two things? One was breaking down the fourth wall, that's why he said that now. Or with that being said, and lo and behold, right in the middle, Dave and I start laughing when Bryan says, well, with that being said.
And I planned that. I honestly, you might not believe it.
He couldn't look at us when he said it. He couldn't even look in our general direction.
No, it was totally planned. I get it. All right, Dave, final thoughts. Go ahead.
Final thoughts are, my goodness, you know what? I made a decision last year, I was like, it's a game. I'm getting into my game day attire. I'm going to wear the jersey and the Zuma pants and all that. I said, you know what? I'm going to calm it down this year because it's the preseason. I'm going to ramp it up. I said, but I'm ecstatic to once again have my huge beach towel size terrible towel. That's what I have for the game, because when you're as large as I am, this towel is really proportional to the same as if Jeff was just waving a regular one. That's just the way it goes. But having this show talking about seeing the Steelers on the field, I mean, it was so soothing after going so long without it. The fact that it was preseason didn't matter. And my goodness, we didn't have to sit through like a 9-6 suck fest that was last year when they played the Bills and something like that. It was actually this was one of the more enjoyable preseason games for Steelers fans. And honestly, if Jacksonville would have scored a touchdown in the final seconds, it wouldn't have mattered to me. It didn't matter that they won. It didn't matter if they would have lost. It mattered that I could really enjoy that Steelers football. And that's what it's really all about more than anything is taking the joy of joyful things in life, being able to appreciate them, having fun with it, and then coming here and getting to have a good time doing the show, seeing the people in the live chat, some of which were just now coming back for the first time. Now that the football is back, we're happy to be here, happy that you're with us. But it just seems like it's this is what normal is. This is how life is supposed to be. So I'm happy to have the Steelers playing football.
Absolutely. And just as a reminder, we want to have everyone check out all of our podcasts. Tomorrow I'll have a special winners and losers podcast, kind of mid-morning-ish. And that'll also be with the article Winners and Losers at SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Dave will have his By the Numbers article. All that for you right there, totally free, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. Check out all of our.
And with that, Jeff was trying to conclude us, but as sometimes happens, our current streaming service decides to boot him out once a show, and it just so happened to be there at the end. So, Bryan, is there anything you would like to say to finish this out?
Now, you know what? Yeah, I would real quick. Man, it was, you put it right on, hit the nail right on the head. I just felt like the product was good of what we saw. It didn't matter what the outcome was, but it feels better when you can at least say that there's a win after a slew of losses, starting in December last year. So, yeah, I feel really good about it. And like Jeff said, check out our content. And Dave, we'll let you send us out.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is the preview, so it's not the normal one. But we will be back here again next Saturday night with another one. Okay. I can't even remember what Jeff says to close it out, so I'm going to close it how I do, and I'm just going to say, go Steelers.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.